On behalf of the production team, we apologize for the poor audio quality on one of the microphones. We are working on a solution and hope to resolve the problem soon. Welcome back to the Tactical Waffle Podcast. This is episode 7 after a week off, so we have a lot to talk about. A lot happened in 2 weeks, to be fair.
Yeah, it's been quite eventful, especially for Tottenham.
Got a new manager.
New interim.
Yeah.
Frank's finally gone. It's hopefully the pain and suffering will end.
I was going to say Spurs' new manager. Have you seen his record, like his managerial record for his past few clubs?
I know he's got the exact same record at the end of 2 different seasons. I think it was with like Lazio and with Juve.
Yeah,
It's not a bad record. Like I know he struggled in the second half of his time at Juve.
yeah.
He's just an
I've heard
interim
some-
manager, though, right? He's not actually supposed to be your full-time replacement.
No, he's only to the end of the season.
I've not heard very good things about him. So apparently he left Marseille after having a row with. It was either a row with the board or a row with the players. He got
Yeah,
sacked by Juventus. He's been sacked by a lot of sort of mid-table clubs across Europe's top 5 leagues. So whether he will do well, he could prove me wrong. But whether he will do well for Spurs, I don't really know, to be honest.
So
yeah,
go ahead.
What he's done well at his last 2 clubs though is that he started strong, both times. I think at both clubs in 9 games he got like 5. I think it was 5 wins, 3 draws, and a loss or something like that.
Yeah,
In both spells, like coming in. So that's all we need. We just need a quick turnaround.
yeah.
Like he's not permanent. So as long as as long as he can beat Arsenal next weekend, I think he'll be a hero.
It's a big ask though.
It's
It is
huge
a big
ask.
ask. But as long as he
You'll be doing us a
strings- yeah, obviously, we're doing the world a favour. But as long as he can string a couple of wins together, really, just get us away from this this relegation talk. Because I don't think we are going to go down, but it is looking scary.
I just think you have a lot more depth in the teams that are sort of lower down at the table. So who's there at the moment? So you've got obviously West Ham, who have just been really inconsistent all season, and you've got
They
Forest.
finally hit a bit of form though.
Yeah, and obviously Forest, like their form isn't great. They've obviously just sacked Sean Dyche and hired probably the worst manager I've seen in the past few years in the Premier League.
Yeah.
I mean, they've got some good players, but they're a bit like West Ham. They've just been way too inconsistent this season.
Yeah,
And
I
feel like
their
and the
problem
things
was
with
sacking
Spurs-
Nuno.
yeah, and I still think the things with Spurs is that you have some really, really good players. That obviously Romero, when he doesn't get suspended, Van der Ven, Xavi Simons, I think has been quite good recently.
Yeah, I think to talk about Romero is obviously since he's come in, he's had constant change of managers, and I don't think he's actually, other than Ange, he hasn't really got on with any of the managers.
Not really, no.
And I think you saw under Ange, he went the longest spell without getting sent off.
Yeah,
And I think maybe it's because he wanted to play. Like he's never, I don't think he's ever been sent off for Argentina. Probably only once. I'm not entirely sure he's about him for Argentina.
Well, and there is
But
something to be said about like if your player is frustrated with management, they're just going to be a frustrated player, and frustrated players will naturally, do more tackles that would get them booked or sent off, kind of thing.
yeah, I mean, like Romero don't need to be frustrated to go and like half someone. So the fact that he is frustrated with the manager, it doesn't help with him getting sent off because, like this season especially, this is the most rash we've seen him since
yeah.
probably like early Conte. Which
Jesus.
I
And that's
do
a while
want to
ago as
ask.
well.
I do want to ask you, Lewis. So obviously, you have your temporary manager. Who would your pick be for a permanent manager going into the start of next season? If you got your pick, who would you pick?
so there's a few
I think there's an
managers
obvious
I
one.
want. The obvious manager, and I think the only way forward is Poch. For the key reason I feel being, well, 2 key reasons. One being it'll just get the fan base straight back on board. Like it'll be a very quick fix in terms of getting the fan base back on board. And then also like any manager we bring in, if it's not Poch, it's gonna be well, you had Poch there, it's going to be compared the whole time. So I feel like the only answer should be Pochettino.
Yeah.
But
And I feel like the thing with Pochettino is that he obviously knows the club inside out already, so he knows the sort of he knows how far the club can go. I think like he kind of knows what to expect.
yeah,
Obviously, some of the players that he had last time. Well, if then, how many players are there now that were with Poch when he was there?
Ben
Not
Davies,
many probably. Yeah, Ben Davis, and that's pretty much it. So
and he's then like
I mean,
leaving at the end of the season.
yeah, and like he'd be working with a completely different squad, and whether he come back to Spurs and do well, it's in question. But
But
I mean,
under Poch, we weren't really signing well beaters,
no,
and like I mean, Son wasn't like a decent Bundesliga player when we signed him.
yeah,
Dele Alli was playing for MK Dons. Ericsson come from Ajax. Like
yeah,
these top players that we've had, even like the likes of Vertonghen and Alderweireld, weren't as good until Poch joined. He's got this history of obviously developing
making players
players,
better.
and even Kane before Poch joined, I think he'd only had like three games. I was watching an interview. I think it was the what's it called, the High Performance podcast. He was on, and he was saying like before he joined, they were looking to sell Kane.
Yeah,
They were looking to replace him with Danny Welbeck
blimey.
because, yeah, exactly. Because although yeah, Danny Welbeck's doing well now, he's not really hit the heights of
No,
Kane, like
he,
the heights Kane ever hit.
he's always been one of those hit and miss strikers, Danny Welbeck.
Oh yeah,
Obviously, there was conversation about him being in the England squad for the World Cup probably a couple months ago or so.
yeah.
But I
And
mean,
now
ever
no
since
one's
players
saying it at all.
ever since players like Watkins and who else has done really well, Calvert Lewin, I
Yeah,
think has a good shout for the squad. I think ever since those two have just kind of exceeded expectations, Welbeck's just kind of got out the picture.
yeah. And that's what's crazy. Like the fact that Kane could have been out the door if Poch didn't come in, and like Poch said himself, he's like, no, I see something in him, so
Yeah,
let's give him a chance. And I mean, the other two were Soldado and like slightly older Adebayor.
yeah,
Like they were the other two strikers we had at the club, and Kane was number three.
yeah. But on
And
paper at the time, like obviously Soldado was a very sort of experienced striker, like obviously played at the top level in Spain, and obviously
yeah, he weren't
Adebayor,
great for us.
like, and Adebayor in his prime, obviously scored that amazing goal against Arsenal
Yeah, I mean,
for us.
even I mean, I could watch that over and over again him running that
Yeah,
pitch.
yeah,
But like even Adebayor at Tottenham under Tim Sherwood, he was really really good. To be fair to him, like he
yeah,
hit a good bit of form under Tim Sherwood. But like we haven't had like won a manager for long enough really since Poch. But even so, like a manager that's developed players the way he did.
yeah,
Like I can't think of a player that has really really developed throughout their whole career. Like like we had under Poch. Like, I mean, like we've got players. We've got like right now we've got Bergvall, Gray. We've got young players that are looking like they're gonna be amazing.
yeah,
But we're probably either gonna sell them or kill their career.
yeah, yeah. You just never know.
Yeah, it's like we've not had a good history since like even since Ange took over. That was the biggest squad overhaul we had. I think he made like six signings for the first team.
Hmm.
Like our team has changed so much since Poch because we've not been able to develop players. We've just been buying the right players at the wrong time as well. I feel.
Yeah, and I saw something on the news about 3 or 4 days ago where Ange was on a podcast. I think he might have been on the podcast with like Gary Neville and Ian Wright
Yeah,
and
the overlap
um,
podcast.
on the overlap, and he mentioned that he asked Spurs. Well, he asked the recruitment team to sign a bunch of players. I think it was Gay and Bomo. Um,
Semenyo and Pedro Neto.
yeah, Semenyo and Pedro Neto, like really sort of standout players for their team.
And even
Probably,
at the time, it was going into Ange's second season.
yeah,
Semenyo was decent, but didn't have all the hype around him. Pedro Neto was probably the most high profile.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
Maybe like obviously Gahey was always seen to be decent,
yeah,
like but people only really hyped up Gahey after the talks about him moving really come around,
yeah. But I
and
think
obviously that Euros.
the whole kind of thing with Ange sort of going on and basically calling out Spurs' recruitment is I think he's kind of like indicating that Spurs aren't really taking it as serious as they should be in terms of wanting to compete at that top level. Like they need to sign like the top players in order to actually compete for
I mean,
Champions League and
we've known this for a while. Like we've known this for so long
yeah,
that we've always been a club that kind of buys lower like from lower leagues or like the lower teams, like lower reputation sides, and develop. Like, it's not worked because we've not had that development manager.
yeah,
Um, because like even like Poch's best 11. Let's say what Lloris we signed from, I think like Leon.
yeah,
Um, like Trippier, Carl Walker, both signed from like Burnley and I think Sheffield. We got Walker from.
yeah,
Like I think Alderweireld, Southampton.
yeah.
Although I obviously like the other great Southampton centre back probably went on to be a better player
Well, yeah,
in Van Dijk, but like even like Danny Rose was like no one really gave him a chance. Turned him into a
no,
really good left back,
yeah,
and I think like even yeah like people rave about Dembele come from Fulham.
yeah,
Like all these players, they we haven't been signing from the likes of like we haven't been going out to PSG and signing one of their players or stuff like that. Like they're the most high profile player we've signed was Lucas, who come from PSG. To be fair,
yeah.
but
And look how that turned out.
yeah, scored a hat trick for us in a very
Sorry, I had a nosebleed, so I had to go.
Nice you to join us.
yeah.
Yeah, sorry about that.
We've had a very good conversation.
Yeah. What was you talking about?
Tottenham being terrible.
Oh, oh well, that's
Per.
not anything to. Yeah.
Yeah.
To be fair, I can't really speak, so.
Yeah, Cody, what are your thoughts on Palace at the moment?
You know what? Weirdly enough, like, I I actually don't think it's the end all. I actually see some positives in the Burnley game because we've always been fine defensively. That wasn't our issue. Our issue was attacking. And I didn't watch the game, but apparently it was much better attacking wise against Burnley. So I'm a bit more hopeful.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but you were always like to play the other side here. Like you were always much better off defensively because you had Gay in the defense. And I feel like
No,
now
but
you've
even
lost.
when Gay went, we still looked good defensively.
Yeah, I just
Obviously, we had I mean, no one's ever gonna be able to fill the boots of Gahey, but I feel like our
there's
main
potential
issue,
there.
yeah, there is potential there.
yeah.
I'm
He's a
excited about Stan Larson. Apparently, he looked really good against Burnley.
Yeah,
yeah,
I
scored
looked at
twice, didn't he?
yeah, I was watching sort of the replay of the game, and to be fair to him, like he worked for his goals. He had his moments where he looked not fantastic, but I can't remember exactly, but it was like some level of ridiculous header flick for the second one, I want to say. And
Yeah, yeah, it
it
was a
Yeah.
good finish there.
it was a great finish, and I think that is what you want in a striker. Is you need someone who can put the ball in the back of the net, and he showed that he can do that. And I think if he can refine some of the other aspects of his game, like there's some reckless tackles, things like that, but he can put the ball in the back of the net, and if you can work with that, you can make
Yeah.
him into
Yeah.
to what you need to be, and is someone in the front who's going to score you goals. And
Yeah,
he looked to do that for you guys when I was watching the replay
Yeah.
of the Burnley game, which is I think a good sign.
Well, I mean, people obviously rightly so, because it's a lot of money, questioned the transfer of Strand Larsen when he first signed. But I mean, Wolves have generated like the least amount of XG, so I didn't really base the signing of. I didn't really judge him based off of this season. I I, I always knew there was a good striker in there, so I think he's going to do really well for us.
And I think
I mean,
he's scored.
watching Strand Larsen, you go.
I
Sorry,
was gonna say it's all good, but I think it's showing that he's played only a handful of games and he's already scored. Is it 2 or 3? He's got a handful already, and it's more than he had at Wolves.
Yeah.
To be fair to him, right? He's recovering from injury. He still was still getting his strength,
Yeah.
but it's showing that when you put
Yeah.
him in a team that can generate more chances, he can finish them. It's good to show that, and I don't necessarily know if the price tag is still fully justified. I think that's yet to be seen, but I think it's showing that you guys were not completely off base, because he's providing exactly what you were looking for, basically, of a player you can get the ball to put it in the back of the net, and he's shown that he can do that. And it was just Wolves cannot get him the fucking ball in a dangerous area.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean,
I'm
you
looking forward
struggled.
to see him.
You struggled a lot with obviously Mateta when he weren't on form. I know Purple Patch, he's probably one of the best strikers in the Premier League, but
Yeah.
but you've struggled this season especially. I mean, let me just double check. Mateta, he's scored like only 8 or something compared like 8 goals this season Premier League.
that's still
But
not bad.
it's not bad, but he's
3 of them came
XG.
against Bournemouth though,
Yeah, that is true.
like at the start of the season.
But his XG is like through the roof. Like even that
Yeah.
game against Bournemouth where he scored a hat trick, I'm pretty sure his XG was like crazy numbers.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's
just
missed a
very
lot of
just-
chances.
And yeah, that's the problem you've had. And I think Strand Larsen does like he's proven that he can score low XG chances.
Yeah,
But
Yeah.
the only thing I would say about Strand Larsen is that just the consistency. Obviously,
Yeah.
he was so up and down for Wolves. But then again, you've never really had a consistent striker like for
Yeah,
years.
well, I'll tell you what I expect from Strand Larsen. I would say around about like maybe around like 15 goals a season, 14 goals a season, depending on how we do.
I mean, for that
Yeah.
price tag, yeah, 45
Yeah.
million, that's kind of what you'd be expecting anyway. But I think Strand Larsen as a whole, I think he's definitely got, potential to be a half decent striker. I just think he needs to work on his shooting, his passing, his short and long passing, his ball control, his dribbling,
Yeah.
his defensive abilities.
hmm
What else does he need to work on? His pace, I think he needs to work on. His game IQ, if I've not already said that. His
More goals than
shooting
Haaland,
again.
by the way.
What?
Nothing.
What did you say?
Nothing.
In fairness, like aside from what I just said, I do think there is a conversation to be had about whether Strand Larsen will sort of reach the heights of that sort of 50 million pound price tag, because at Wolves he scored, I think it was 1 goal in 21 games in the league this season.
Yeah, but I'd say,
Um,
like it was recovering from injury, and I think it was a lot off the bench.
Yeah.
Strand
And
Larsen.
obviously, Wolves have been crap. So there's a lot to take. There's a lot. I didn't judge him off of this season.
I also think it's hard to
Yeah.
still judge him even at Crystal Palace yet, because he's sort of right. It's been only a handful of games. I think you have to give him a few more weeks, really, to the end of the season, if we're being honest, to truly evaluate if he's going to be worth 45 million pounds. But I think the early signs are good, that there is something there and that you're not completely off base.
Yeah.
George, how are you
Well-
feeling about City being sort of in the hunt?
City have improved massively, haven't they?
Yeah, I mean, we've been a lot better the past few games. We have some sort of curse where, before the Liverpool game, we had a small curse where we played really, really well in the first half of games, and then the second half we just completely capitulated. So, I think if we can play the way we did in that sort of last 20 minutes against Liverpool at Anfield, like in every game for the rest of the season, I think it's still Arsenal's title to lose, if I'm being honest. But I feel like if we carry on playing like that, I feel like we can challenge them until the sort of latter stages of the season.
You're going to put
But
a
I feel
little
like-
bit of a fire under them, which is also how you make mistakes. If you know there's a team coming for you, it makes everything a lot harder, and that puts more pressure on Arsenal to potentially make more mistakes.
I mean, yeah, like
Yeah.
you're putting good pressure on them, and they proved against Brentford, like against Brentford, I think they deserved to lose.
Yeah, I mean,
Like,
Igor Thiago had some really good chances. He had one where I
that
think it
that
was sort of,
the Mascara tackle was really good. To be fair to him,
yeah,
I but it just come from a like going 1-0 up. It's just a really come out of nowhere, to be fair, but really good goal from Madueke. Great
oh
header.
yeah,
But other than that, they just really didn't seem to threaten.
no, I mean, Brentford sort of utilised their set pieces really, really well. Obviously, Michael
Yeah, and
Coyote's
I
got an
don't think
absolute monster of a throw in.
yeah, like it was always going to come from a Coyote throw in.
Yeah,
But it's like with Arsenal, it's like as soon as their set pieces are worked out and like they're nullified from it, they struggle. Like I'm not saying they can't score from open play, but you see them kind of run out of ideas.
yeah,
Well, and I think it
Like
was they just had no players who had much creativity when it came to moving forwards, right? They had a lot of players who were good in set pieces. You had a lot of players who could be strong on the ball, who are good presences, but you had no one who could creatively move the ball forwards in their starting
yeah,
11.
I mean since Eze come in, he's not hit the height. And I don't think
yeah,
he's fancied at all. I think that like that's not helped. He's not had a consistent run of games because
Yeah.
he is not like he's definitely not fancied at Arsenal. Now, anybody with eyes could have seen that coming from a mile away. That
He
Yeah.
as
started
soon
the
as
Brentford game, didn't he? And then come
yeah,
off.
and now everyone's
Come off at
questioning
half-time.
whether Arteta even likes him.
Yeah.
Like
yeah,
it was a lot of pressure to put on Eze early on, like coming through the youth and like, not getting his chance, and now coming in trying to replace the captain, which was never going to happen.
Yeah.
It's just like I, I I said at the time obviously in pure anger the fact that he should have joined us, but even now looking at it, I was right in saying he shouldn't have gone to Arsenal. Like if he'd gone anywhere, not even just Tottenham, he should not have gone to Arsenal because it just was the wrong move.
yeah. I mean, to be fair, if his name was Ryan Cherky, he might be doing quite well there because Ryan Cherky's just amazing anyway.
The man is incredible.
I love that man.
Obviously robbed of a goal. Very much robbed of
Yeah.
a goal against Liverpool.
So I know a lot of people talk about the rules of the game and how, like, obviously, Szoboszlai and Haaland fouled each other, but I went on for probably a good 3 hours after the game had finished, just constantly moaning and whining about how that goal didn't stand. Like,
It makes sense
I'm
if
still in
you're looking
disbelief.
strictly from a rules standpoint. However, if you're going to deem it a foul, just let the goal stand. They fouled each other.
Exactly.
At the end of the day, Szoboszlai got a red card. Play the advantage in a way of you could just give them the direct free kick, but you might as well just give them the goal. If we can play advantage in the run of play, I think you should be able to play advantage in a foul, right?
Exactly.
At the end of the day, City came out on top of that exchange. Therefore, I think you should
Yeah.
just let the goal stand.
Exactly. And I think
it
like
changed the scoreline.
the decision itself harms both teams in the sense that I'm going to picture a scenario where, like, obviously, Szoboszlai getting a red card harms Liverpool, but I'm going to picture a scenario where Man City and Arsenal are level on points going into the final game of the season, and Arsenal win the league by 1 goal. If that
That would be
happens,
the moment.
all because of all because of the ref disallowing that goal, I'm going to be fuming. And I
Like,
think
trust me, George. Palace versus Arsenal in the last game of the season. We're
We
gonna
will
win it.
be there.
I hope so. I really hope so. But yeah, we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, I like looking at the moment. It's just like one, like you said, no one wins out of that encounter.
No.
Like Liverpool lost a player, but kept their 1 goal deficit. That's it. And
Yeah.
obviously, you could have had an extra goal.
Yeah.
You
It's just the ref trying to make it all about him.
Yeah, you surely you just look at that and go, well, it's a 50-50 all the way there. They were both pushing each other, both grabbing each other, and it should have literally just ended at that and just went. The ball rolled in. In the end, like at the end of the day, neither of them had any impact on that ball going in
No.
because it rolled it like when Cherky hit, me and Cody started laughing because it was
Yeah.
the weakest like halfway line goal attempt I've ever seen.
Yeah.
It was one of the funniest goals I've ever seen, and the ref just ruined it.
Yeah, it just got
Yeah.
like it was a great end to a game that was ruined by VAR getting involved where it doesn't need to. At the end of the
Exactly.
day,
Yeah.
VAR in certain moments, and I like it might get annoying this idea, but I think it'd be a good like in certain moments, like with Josh King's goal earlier in the season against Chelsea, which that shouldn't have been ruled out for one, but like a teenager has gone and scored to put his team 1-0 up, and it's 50-50 on whether it was a foul or not. Just give it.
Yeah.
Like certain moments like that where like against us when like Joe Willock's hair was offside in midweek. Just give it.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to stick that hard to the rules. If like say a teenager come on scored the last minute winner for his team, but the like the top of his toe was
Yeah.
offside, and it gets ruled out for that. Like you've just ruined one of the greatest moments that like could have been one of the greatest moments in history
Well, and
for that.
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
Just to
from a
stick to the
reffing
rules.
standpoint, it kind of makes sense, right? You have to stick to what it says in the rule book, right? To deviate from it leans too much into now what ifs of like if you allow this, why don't you allow this? But I also completely agree with you. Like I think there needs to be a certain level of, like I said, right? We have a rule where you can play advantage in the run of play. If there's a foul made, but the team that got the foul against them is still in an advantageous position, you carry on. I think there should be something applied like that, especially when we were looking at everything that happened with Holland and Szoboszlai there. Like, did they both foul each other? Yeah, sure. Did
Yeah.
at the end of the day, did it make a huge impact on that ball going in? No. Did it end up being a City free kick? Yes. If would City much prefer the goal? Yes. Let the goal stand, in my opinion. And I think
Yeah.
similar things applied
Yeah.
to like, yeah, if you're calling it a 50-50 foul, just let it stand if it's going to be a big moment, right? And I think there's a clause in a lot of board games. It's often called like the clause of chaos, and it means
Yeah.
like if two rules often clash, you pick the rule that will cause more chaos, and not necessarily saying that should be the rule, but I think there should be something written in the rules that's like the excitement thing, whereas like if you're indecisive, right? If it's a 50-50 call, you go with the call that will be more exciting, that will bring more fans, right? There will be more excitement around it. There'll be more joy, right? Like you said, teenager scoring a winner for his team, letting the City goal stand, something like that, having like an excitement clause where
Yeah.
if it's a 50-50 call, it goes the way of whatever's more exciting, whatever's more like holy shit. And I think it will just bring much more joy around the games because no longer is it like, oh, we have
Well,
to wait for
'cause-
this VAR check for 5 minutes over this 50-50.
yeah, like since VAR come in, people don't want to celebrate, and
Yeah.
it's just dragging all the fun out of football because like what's the point in celebrating just for it to get disallowed?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like
It's a cool concept, but like it's the people running it. It just kind of annoys me.
it's so inconsistent, and like you said a minute ago, like the refs have to stick to the rules, otherwise every every call can be argued. It happens anyway, even with them trying to stick to the rules and like with VAR being there and everything like that, they're still not getting these calls right.
No.
So like with Romero getting sent off against United, okay, send him off, but also send off someone that did the exact same thing. Like it happened, Brian Brobby did it to Zubimendi literally hours later and got away with it. It's like when Dallo could have ended like a Doku's career, like with like that high on his knee, any harder, and that could have sent Doku out for quite a while.
Yeah.
But he didn't get sent off for it. It's like you can't, and I think there is in certain moments an agenda against the name of the player. Like players, it happened with Xhaka for a bit, happens with Romero, happens with Casemiro. Players that are known to be a bit rash. As soon as something is skeptical, it's well they're rash, so that it's definitely intentional.
And
It's
I think,
definitely
unfortunately, that will always be true because nothing is ever going to be truly robotically controlled, and there will always be a human factor. And from a refing standpoint, if you look at it and go, this player has a history of being rash, and it looks like they're going to do it, right? You show them a card to sort of put an end to it and show that you're not going to put up with it. And I don't think that's fair to the players, but it is at the end of the day how the human mind works, and that isn't something that's ever going to be able to change unless the system goes fully automatic. But I think that has more issues.
yeah.
And I think one of the problems with VAR is that in certain decisions, I think it kind of takes common sense out of the equation. Like, referees are a lot more inclined to kind of go with what the like the they're more inclined to go with what the VAR officials feel rather than actually sort of making like common sense decisions regarding goals or fouls or anything like that. And I feel like it it's been a it's been a problem for years. I feel like they just need to sort that out really.
Well, I think the technology itself can be very helpful, but I think what you run into is it becomes too much of a black and white of we're going to scan to make sure there isn't a millimeter of toe offsides kind of thing. Whereas I think what it should be used for is if it's right, you give it sort of an eye test, you have a replay, you have someone who could look at the replay. But if it passes an eye test, let it stand. Like we don't need to zoom in to this man's pinky finger was offsides
Draw
kind
the
of
lines
thing.
and everything.
Yeah, it's like if we're talking World Cup winner here, maybe, but like on a week to week basis, just let the goals stand. It will be more exciting, right? The sport has a reputation of 0-0 draws all around. And I think part of the problem is VAR constantly interfering and disallowing things. Just let it stand. Let there be more excitement.
Yeah, and like even with like I've lost my train of thought straight away. But like even in moments where it could be one way, it could be the other way. It's like the decisions still go the wrong way. Like in a 50-50, like being wrong 90% of the time.
Yeah.
It like and then it's taking that's what I was gonna say, like it's taking so long to get these like wrong decisions out that it should be like, oh, if it takes more than a certain amount of time to work out whether it's onside or offside, or whether it's hit his ankle or the little bit of space below his ankle, like if it really takes so many replays of looking at it, it is difficult to call. So just call it in the way that would be more fun for the people watching.
And that's the thing. I think that's why, like, coming back to the excitement clause, call it in the way that would be more fun. But also, you have effectively two refs you get to look at it. You have a linesman and you have a center ref. Anything that's like fairly obvious is going to be called. If it's going to the 50-50, give it a quick check. If it's like by the first 2-3 camera angles he's offsides, okay, yeah, disallow it. But like you said, like if it's you have to go down to the 9th camera angle and you're zooming in, just let it stand. It's not that important, and you're taking time away from the game.
Or I'd do that, or either stick with the ref's original decision.
Yeah,
So it gives
even
actual
that.
power back to the refs.
Like because the refs, but the problem is now is that refs are so reliant on VAR that as soon
exactly.
as they're scared to
As soon
make
as
these
they
big
go to the
decisions.
monitor, you already know what's going to happen. It's going to get overturned,
Yeah,
and it's just a long process for basically nothing.
Well, and
yeah,
Or
and
something
but
you already knows is going to happen.
this is what's causing injuries, like especially when there's so many injuries throughout the winter period, is because you start getting going and then like 20 minutes later you're stopped for about 10 minutes. It's so stop start in like mainly the Premier League. Like other leagues do have slightly this issue, but not as much. Like it's mainly in the Premier League, and it's so stop start in the Premier League that it is difficult to keep difficult to keep players fit now um because
I'm gonna quickly stop you here, George. Do you
yeah,
have any
yeah.
sort of final thoughts before you need to leave?
No, I think I pretty much said all I need to say about VAR and how, you know, how bad it is, and how I think it just needs to be scrapped. And
Yeah,
yeah.
we will agree.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
But anyway, that's me.
yeah.
All right,
Right, you,
take
George.
care.
Take care.
Bye. But yeah, just maybe we wrap up not far from here. But just to finish off the rant about VAR, is just that it needs to either be completely rethought, revamped entirely, or just get rid of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The way it's set up now isn't
Well,
working.
and I think part of the problem also is the way that the refs are told to play it is you let the play out and then you will check the VAR. Like,
Yeah,
you don't need the VAR half the time. You don't need to let it play out. It doesn't need to be the most blatantly offsides thing to stop the play. If you're confident in your decision, call it back. Like, refs are told to wait for the system, and I think that is also part of the problem is everything gets looked at and everything takes time. But yeah, I think that is the rant on VAR over. Um, I will say I have been impressed with Chelsea's run of form the past sort of 2 weeks.
yeah, it looked good up until I'd say like the Arsenal game in the FA Cup, in the Carabao Cup. Though that game and then the following Leeds game,
Yeah,
I think there
Yeah,
was a bit of
the Leeds
weakness
Liverpool
shown.
one.
a little bit, but I think like we have seemed to have found our feet under Rafinha, and I think it has been good. It has been positive. We seem to be playing with more intent, and it's been very positive, I think, and that is something is that we seem to be moving in a positive direction with the new manager.
I do like him.
I do as
Yeah.
well, and
He seems to also like the players seem to actually like him. I think that's been a case for a while at Chelsea, where the players have actually also been happy under the manager.
yeah, and I think
Yeah.
I think it's really good because he does seem to genuinely take a care for his players, and I think that has been good, and I think you can see that the players are, they seem to want to play for him, whereas I think it's been a while since we've seen that, and as Ben is fond of saying, we have ego problems at Chelsea, and we definitely do.
There are big ego problems.
There are huge ego problems. However, I think this sort of the new way of management, while maybe not necessarily is stopping those problems, is at the very least putting a limiter on it. Is he seems to really lean into team building, and I think even looking at the whole City game, which may not be a fair comparison, right? Battering them, but I think the team looked unified, and I think that was something positive, even with sort of first team starters to sort of fringe players who were sort of not constantly there. But it was things like with Fernandez and Delap, like they still seem to be connecting. The chemistry seems to be there in a way that it wasn't before Rafinha. And so I think
Yeah,
Yeah.
if we can keep this sort of team fluidity through the rest of the season, I think right we're now 1 point below United and 6 below Villa. So I don't know if we can fully catch Villa, but I think being able to get up into fourth is definitely something we can do. And I think
100%.
it will go if we can keep sort of this system into the new season and with the transfer window with Rafinha in control, I think it breeds very positively for the start of next season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I just
gone.
sorry. Yeah, you go.
I was just gonna
Uh,
say, oh, I'll go. I'll go. But I think we were talking about Pedro Neto earlier, and his performance in the whole City game was phenomenal as well. He looked confident. He looked confident
yeah.
is the best word for it. Is like he really had his feet under him, And
Yeah, he looked comfortable, kind of coming in, like breaking inside as well, which he's not really done that often.
yeah, and the there's it's very difficult to understand how much confidence can do for a player. A
Oh
player
yeah,
without confidence is going to be a shadow of what they can be with confidence. And I think we have somewhat of a winger problem. We have so many wingers at Chelsea that we just don't know what to do with.
yeah,
Yeah.
But I think Neto has seemed to gain a confidence in the recent run of form. I didn't watch the Wolves game because I was at the Fulham Everton game, which I'll get to in a minute. But from what I heard, it was a good performance from the team as well. Conceding to Wolves is not great, but overall it was supposed to be good. But
yeah, for the most part.
If Neto is able to sort of take a winger position by the scruff of his neck and just carry this confidence, I think that will go a long way into easing our attacking problems of just having something that's more settled, because we do have a winger problem, and but he does seem to be solidifying his position as a solid player, and I think it's really good to see.
Yeah,
Mm.
but yeah, how was Fulham Everton?
It was genuinely fantastic. So yeah, it ended 2-1 for Everton. So I was sitting in the Fulham stands, so it's a big
No.
boohoo from me. Did not get to see Robinson, which is unfortunate. Me and my dad. So my dad was in town. That's who I went to the game with, which was awesome. It was nice. He doesn't, I don't get to see my parents enough, so that was really nice. But yeah, so we were hoping to see the American Robinson. Didn't play, but I will say Sessegnon impressed. He reminded me of Robinson in a lot of his mannerisms and the way he plays, but he was right in front of us. We were like row two, and he for the
Yeah,
entire first half he was breaking down our side, and it was really impressive. The absolute pace is something that I didn't understand until I went to a game. Right, the TV does not do the speed of the game justice. It really does not.
no,
100%. That's what happened with Semenyo when me and Lewis went to watch Bournemouth as well. He
yeah.
was,
We're Bournemouth, Tottenham. Like I always have thought that people were kind of over exaggerating when talking about
yeah,
Semenyo, and then watching him give Pedro Porro nightmares was just like I hated it, but it was also just so like I couldn't keep my eyes off of Semenyo because he
Well,
was just
yeah,
and
so good.
I think something that like I've been to championship games before, but I think something that will never get until you've been to a Premier League game is just how tight the gaps are. Right, on TV you see someone flick the ball between two players, and it's like that was a decent move, but you see it often enough where it doesn't phase you. Watching it in person, and they are scraping by with inches on either side, and it is
Yeah,
like, how in the hell are they doing this at the speed that they're doing it at? The ball is flying
yeah,
in with such speed. It, it genuinely, it was an incredible experience, and I don't think there's much that you can compare it to, because like I said, even like I've been to championship games before, but there's something about in the Fulham Everton game, every ball had the potential to be something absolutely lethal. Right, anytime a player's on the ball, they could just make the play that would end up being a goal. Whereas I think when I was at the championship games, you didn't have as much of that. You could sort of see the build-up play, but you're not going to whack a ball from your left back over the top to your right winger running onto it. Whereas you would see that a couple times in the game, and it's just anytime anyone had the ball, it could be dangerous. And I think there's a certain level of excitement as a fan in the stadium, knowing that at any moment could be the moment.
yeah,
yeah. It's just yeah, definitely watching football live is just so much of a better experience.
Yes,
yeah. Even
definitely.
the atmosphere as well. Like it's so much more real in person.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
it it is something that I don't think you can understand until you've done it either. Like you can hear people talk about it and you can hear people say it, but no matter how much you hear people talk about it, there's nothing that can replace doing it.
Yeah.
And it's like I said, the speed, right? You look on TV and you see the sort of a player looks like they have a ton of space, or that they don't have a ton of space, whatever. But then in person, you realize like at one moment it looks like a player will have a good couple of steps in front of him, but all of a sudden someone just comes flying in at Mach 5, and it's just so much more impressive in person to watch them, and the explosiveness to go from an absolute standing to just flying was incredible.
Yeah, just the only problem with like going to live games is so expensive now.
Yeah, that is the very negative downside. Um, in terms of like the specifics to the Fulham Everton game, like I said, Sessegnon was really impressive. Watching him was really cool. Uh, I got to see Jordan Pickford perform a few saves, which was really nice. Um, I've always wanted to watch like an international goalkeeper, sort of like that, one of the better ones. So it was really cool to see Pickford live. That was exciting. Uh,
Yeah, I mean, I love Pickford. I think he's so underrated. He's always been so good.
yeah, he.
Yeah.
It wasn't necessarily his fault, but he was furious after the Fulham goal, which
It's an own goal, weren't it? Or something like that.
technically, yeah. So it was a good cross in to Raul Jimenez, who kind of hit it in. Pickford got a hand to it, and then it just bounced off the back of the defender, and then it just popped just up over Pickford's
Yeah,
hands.
it was Vitaly Mikalenko.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He did get an
Yeah.
assist though
he
as
did.
well.
Yeah.
Nico.
But yeah, so it bounced off Mikolenko's back and into the goal. Um, and then I will say, I think Mikolenko had probably the funniest moment of the entire game. In the second half, he was about right in front of us where we were sitting. He absolutely goes to send one in to, I can't remember who it was. It was whoever the right winger was at the time. It just sent it ever so slightly long. And he just absolutely yells out "fuck" just at the top of this man's lungs, and it was just really humorous because it's one of those things where it's like, you know that the players are definitely doing that, but it's just so hilarious to hear it for real. Of like, yeah, they do get annoyed when they miss a pass.
Yeah.
It isn't all just carry on with life. But yeah, that was funny. I will say I've heard you guys talk about Drewsbury Hall on the podcast before, and I've used him on my FM team when I've played as Everton before. But he was like a bit of a maverick to watch in midfield.
He's unreal, isn't he?
He's very good, and his shot was very well placed. To be fair, it was well done by him. A great cross in by I think Mikolenko again. To Dewsbury Hall to finish Everton's first, and then his corner is what caused the second. But he was, again, it was another player that I never really could appreciate until I saw him in real life, and I hadn't really heard of him until I heard you guys talk about him. But it was really cool to see him live, and you are very right. He's a bit of a really special player.
Yeah.
Well, is there anything else we wanna say? I think
Not
it's
really.
getting around about that time.
Yeah, getting around about that time. Sorry for the shorter one. We are once again in a bit of a pressed for time state. We'll be
Hard
back in
life
the
being students.
true essays, assignments, work. It's a tough
Well,
life.
Yeah.
But yeah, hopefully we'll be back at the studio next week with potentially a guest. We're still ironing out the details, but we'll potentially have a good friend of ours, Bertie, who's a Man United fan, on. So that should be exciting.
See how it goes.
I think we need a United fan, really, don't we?
We need
In
Night
Arsenal,
Fan, and then next I think it's looking like my brother will make an appearance, and I mean Cody, you know, you know what we're
Kind of crazy how like Palace has had the most fans in this podcast.
Oh no.
By nature of having two, well, we have the same amount of Palace fans as we have Chelsea fans. To be fair,
That is true.
Are you a Chelsea fan?
yeah.
I know that. I did hear you like refer to we earlier, and like I obviously knew from that, but I wanted to confirm it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just part of it is not born British. I'm not like pick a diehard team that I've supported for the last 20 years of my life. I sort of started following them when my dad started following when Pulisic went there, and I just kind of
Nah.
continued to follow them from there.
It sounds like
fair
you're
enough.
edging towards Bournemouth recently, though.
I do like Bournemouth. Tyler Adams mostly. Yeah, yeah. I definitely a Bournemouth fan. But you know, Chelsea was the first team that I actually would like wake up to watch the games for, because I'm 6 hours behind in Chicago,
Yeah.
so the games would be like pretty early in the morning. So Chelsea were the only team that I really wake up to watch the games for and stuff. So they will forever be sort of the team I support. But I will say I am a bit of a Bournemouth fan, but more, if we're really breaking it down, I'm a Tyler Adams fan. But
Well, I mean, don't say it too loudly, but I was born an Arsenal fan.
Oh no.
Yeah, I my dad tried to raise me an Arsenal fan, and then I got some sense knocked into me. I think at the age of 6, and just never looked back.
fair enough. But yeah, so we have two Palace fans and two Chelsea fans.
If there's nothing else we want to say, do you want to sign us off, Emmett?
Yeah. I actually don't know how to sign off, to be honest.
You can't salute into the camera this time.
I know it's tragedy. Yeah, this has been the Tactical Waffle Podcast. Like I said, hopefully we'll be back in the studio next week. So we will be back next week. We're not taking another break. Don't worry.
Whether it be in the studio or here, we'll be back.
We will be back. This has been Ben, George, Cody, and Lewis with a production team of Emmett, Sarah, and Millie. Going into 2026, we have a new recording and posting schedule. You will now be able to find our podcast live on YouTube and Spotify from 12 p.m. noon every Wednesday. Follow our Instagram at Tactical Waffle Podcast for live updates and news.